Can you see me and hear me?
Oh,
I just wanted to make sure it was working before because I could start another computer. Thank you.
I can, and this is Peggy.
Yes,
I can see you and I can hear you. Yes,
great. Thank you, Cecil.
you're welcome.
Cecil,
Yes.
can you allow me the opportunity to share my screen?
Yeah. Let me do that. Give me just a minute.
And I think Peggy as well. Peggy would need to share her screen when her presentation comes up.
Okay. So I'm going to allow all panelists
Okay,
to
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
should have it now.
Thank you. All right, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3. Sorry. Um, 1, 2, 3. Do we have 4 commissioners on? I see 3, right? One, Chase, Fields, Dooley. Okay, we need 1 more for quorum. Hi. All right, I think we have quorum now. And our chair, Kaufman, is not able to join us today, so he's asked our vice chair, Fields, to chair the meeting. So I'll turn over the meeting to him so that he could begin with our opening statement. So I think we'll start here.
Great. This regular meeting will be conducted via telecommunication and is compliant with the provisions of the Brown Act and the Governor's Executive Order N-2920. This regular meeting will not be physically open to the public. The commission meeting, its members and participants will meet via Zoom from remote locations.
All right. Maybe you could also just call our items as they come up.
Sure. So first we'll do the call to order and a roll call vote.
Commissioner Hoffman. Commissioner Brocker.
Here.
Commissioner Brocker. Commissioner Chase.
Here.
Commissioner Dooley.
Here.
Commissioner Yoshikawa.
Here.
Oh, I didn't see you. Oh, there you are. Commissioner Fields
Here.
and Chairperson Kaufman. Thank you.
So next up, approval of minutes. Do we approve both individually or do we do them simultaneously?
Individual. So starts with the special meeting minutes.
Okay. Could we get a motion to approve the special meeting minutes from one of the commissioners?
I move to approve the special meeting minutes from February 11th.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, Diana.
Sorry, I couldn't get the unmute off. Commissioner Hoffman,
Here.
Commissioner Brocker,
Here.
Commissioner Chase,
Hi.
Commissioner Dooley,
Here.
Commissioner Yoshikawa.
Are we roll calling or are we approving the motion?
We're doing the roll call following the approval of the study session minutes.
Got it. Here. Thank you.
Commissioner Fields
Aye.
and Chairperson Kaufman. Thank you.
Great. Could I now get a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from February 11th?
I'll move to accept the meeting minutes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So we need to have more of a clarification for the motion, Margarita, or is that sufficient?
We're gonna, so because there's two separate minutes, we're accepting them separately. So there's two roll call votes, one for the special meeting minutes, second for the regular meeting minutes.
But the motion is what I was questioning. Do we need to say a motion to approve?
Oh, correct.
And
Yes.
the
Oh,
So
Okay.
can you
Sorry,
rephrase the motion, please? Thank you.
I move that we approve the regular meeting minutes from February 11th, 2021.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman,
Aye.
Commissioner Brocker,
Aye.
Commissioner Jace,
Aye.
Commissioner Dooley,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoshikawa. I know you're in there.
Sorry.
Commissioner-
Sorry. I was on mute.
Commissioner Fields
Aye.
and Chairperson Kaufman. Thank you. So I'm sorry, that was a motion from Brocker, and who seconded it? Okay, thank you.
Great. Moving us along, I believe we have no communications and no oral requests.
Correct, none received.
Great. So we will move to reports from representatives, and very excited to welcome from our Santa Clara County Library, Jennifer Weeks.
Good evening. It's nice to see you all. Can you hear me okay? Excellent. I'm going to share my screen.
Let me stop sharing.
Thank you, Margaret. And we'll go. All right, from the beginning. All right, thank you guys so much for having me. And I am going to whiz through because what an exciting evening. You guys have some great agenda items I know that you're looking forward to hearing about. So a quick view from the district. So we are at that tax time. So we are continuing to look at the services that we can be providing through the library. So we have tax forms and instructions. We have computer appointments at Gilroy, Morgan Hill, and Saratoga and Milpitas so that people can get in. We have librarians available Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6, who can point you to the right sites. So we're so glad that we're able to continue to provide those services. I'm sorry why this is jumping ahead of me. We also, of course, are so excited about the expansion going on in Campbell, but we also wanted to tell you a little bit about other things going on in the district. So the Morgan Hill Library just recently completed their children's activity room. It's a wonderful, happy, bright space. Currently, they're serving lunch for students there 3 days a week out of that new space, and we're looking forward to continuing great programming. Additionally, down the street, Cupertino Library is building a 2-story community room, and they had an official virtual groundbreaking event on March 5th. So that's exciting because, of course, this is all prequel to your wonderful work coming up in Campbell. Again, just looking at ways we can serve the community. So we have wireless printing now available. So you can go on our website to get instructions on how to do that. You upload your documents and then can go to one of our 4 libraries offering computer services to print 25 free pages. So we're again looking at those needs in the community and meeting those. So we're excited to offer that service. On Saturday, March 20th, we have another TED-style talk coming up for teens, and this is about entrepreneurship. So again, it will be through virtual opportunities for our teens. So you can find all of that information on our website, and registration is required for that event. On Thursday, April 29th, the Library Joint Powers Authority Board meeting will be taking place. At this point, it will likely be on a virtual platform, and that again will be at noon on the 29th. And of course, as we notice the good things happening throughout the community as California and our county moves forward. So the red tier has allowed us to offer lobby service to replace that walk-up service at Cupertino, Gilroy, Los Altos, Milpitas, Morgan Hill, and Saratoga. So we started these on Monday. There in Campbell, you're still having curbside and walk-up services available because, as we're going to hear later in the evening, there's lots of things happening in Campbell. So we're trying to continue services on a consistent basis and make the fewer changes possible, so that we're just making things in a very positive direction for the community. We will continue to look at the opportunities to open more spaces, more hours in accordance to the health policies and offering all of the safety protocols that are needed in place. So we will continue to keep you updated, and I know Peggy will have more information for you on that. So I will stop my share and more than happy to answer any questions from the district. Excellent. I must have answered them all then. So it's always nice to see you, and I'm looking forward to hearing, I know, what Peggy has to add. And again, I'll stick around to hear all the wonderful happenings with the renovation as well.
That all sounds great. I'm glad I know a place I can go and print when my printer inevitably stops working again. So that's great to hear. Thank you.
Thanks.
So,
I think, do I now welcome from the community library, Peggy Tomaso, to give us the Campbell Library report.
thank you. And I'm going to share my screen as well. Oh dear. Let's see. Let's see if that. It's going to let me do it. Oh, can you see it, commissioners?
No.
No, sorry.
Oh dear. Okay. Let me see if it will do it now. Oh, there it is. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there it goes.
Great. Okay. So I just have a really quick presentation because I know the architects are here tonight and the city is here to talk about the new building. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. As you know, the City Council approved the Orchard Green plan to proceed to the schematic design phase at their December 1st meeting. And then since our last meeting, Councilman Lopez and Commissioners Fields and Chase joined me for an introduction to library services via Zoom to learn about the many services that the library offers. I think they were able to learn a few things maybe that they didn't know that the library offered. And of course, I was there to answer any questions they had. I'd like to reach out again to Commissioners Brockner and Dooley too. I'm happy to do a presentation for them as well. And that's Lisa Hughes, our longtime beloved children's librarian there. She retired on March 5th with over 40 years with the county and over 25 years with the city of Campbell. And many children remember her and many parents of children remember her. And just some quick statistics for us for January. We had 78,000 checkouts, about 4,000 borrowers, and excuse me, we had about 5,400 people go through our gate. And just a special thing that's going to be happening in April. The Friends are going to be out in the small parking lot of the library for a book sale. They're going to try to sell everything in the basement that they have, so they don't have to box it up and take it somewhere for two years while we're at the temporary. And I just wanted to quickly share with you where we're going to be. I don't have any pictures of the interior yet. Next time when I visit with you, I'll have some pictures of what the new library will look like inside. But we're going to be at the community center right across from the Orchard City Banquet Hall. In that first activity room there, there's not lots of nice parking here for patrons. And we're looking forward to moving into our new space and being able to open that up for all of the Campbell patrons. So I don't know if you guys have any questions for me.
Do you have a link or something? Would you like help promoting the Friends book sale?
Sure. Yes.
Because that sounds like a worthy cause, and I know whenever I move, getting rid of the stuff before you move is way simpler than moving it and then dealing with it. So happy if you want to share a link that I'm sure the rest of the commissioners also would be up to help promote or attend the sale when it happens.
Yeah, I'd be glad to do that. I'll send it to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm trying to get my screen up so I can quit sharing. Let's see here. Oh, Lordy. Oh, here we go. All right, there. Thank you.
Great. If there are no other questions, I will now turn it over to reports from staff. From Margarita to first talk about the County Community Ambassador Program.
Hey there. So quick recap, I sent an email to the commission as well as all other city commissions on behalf of our mayor, Liz Gibbons, regarding the Community Ambassadors Program. It's a county program that was put together during this pandemic time to use people within the communities who volunteer and who are already kind of acknowledged as credible and local community volunteers to help the county spread education around COVID-19, and as well as mitigation efforts and vaccines and any kind of communication that is trying to go out related to the pandemic. So there's been a program established. The trainings are all on the county's YouTube channel, and I think that periodically they will be doing kind of mass information campaigns that we'll be asking for these community ambassadors to assist with. It's a way to participate if you have some time to learn about the information, and then there's no expectation really in terms of you have to reach X number of people or attend certain forums, but the expectation is that even at least within your own network, whether it's your neighborhood block or your family or your commission, that we're sharing information to get facts out there about the COVID-19 pandemic and how we can have vaccines and what current tier we're in and other information to help us as we move forward. So if you have any questions, or if you didn't receive the message, or if you want more, if you want the links, if you want me to refresh, actually, I'll just send it over right now. I'm going to resend it to everyone so you can have it kind of at the top of your inboxes. But it's a good program that we thought we'd want to engage our commissioners in terms of using all of you as community experts and helping you educate your fellow neighbors and residents. Also, moving on to Form 700s, I also sent out another communication about Form 700 filings. The email had the forms attached. We do need an original signature with the form, so we're asking that you mail it or drop it off at City Hall. And we have received something I believe we have Commissioner Dooley and Commissioner Hoffman. As I receive others, I'll acknowledge receipt. It was a question from Commissioner Brocker about kind of why the Civic Improvement Commission are designated filers. And so we've asked for the city attorney's opinion on why we've designated CIC commissioners as designated filers, and I attached that to the agenda. And let me see, I will share my screen. Okay, yes, am I sharing my screen? Yes. And so basically what it is because you participate in governmental decisions and grant funding decisions. So as tonight, perfect example tonight, you are making recommendations for social service subgrant funding. That is a decision in terms of our city funds, as well as how, identifying ways that the city provides services to the community, right? You're using these social service agencies as a vehicle of helping support services out in the community. So because of that role, the Civic Improvement Commission was added as Form 700 filers. These forms, although it's a public document because you're submitting it to a city, in the case that it's not posted anywhere, but in case it is requested as a public document, we heavily redact it. So we'll leave your name, but we redact address, phone number, accounts, anything that's identifiable is redacted so that your information, your privacy is protected. And so there is, if in case someone does ask for this information, there is a way that we can help protect your privacy in terms of the very personal identifiable information that you provide in that form. But otherwise, it is held in the city clerk's office. She is our filing secretary for this. It doesn't go to the state. She's kind of the holder of these documents. And in case that anybody asks for them, we have them on file and they're redacted and they're reviewed. But otherwise, we don't post them or disseminate them publicly. It's just information that we need to collect, required by state law. But if there's any other specific or further questions, the city attorney has offered to speak with commissioners. So, please let me know and I will put you in touch with our city attorney directly. And I think Commissioner Barker has asked to do that. And I think he will be in touch with him, and anybody else is definitely welcome to the same opportunity. But otherwise, just friendly reminder that the Form 700 forms are due April 1st. And we do need a wet signature. So let me know if you can drop it off or mail it in, and we'll acknowledge receipt. And lastly, something that wasn't identified in the agenda, but it is a very exciting staff report. Last month, we had talked about the city council discussing mid-year budget correction strategies due to drop in revenues. And I think the public art subcommittee met on Monday, and they heard Carrie and I kind of talking about our personal fears around what was going to happen with our jobs and our status with the city. So I wanted to say that, as many of you may know, yesterday President Biden signed the third stimulus bill that included about $7.9 million for the city of Campbell. And that money was really a game changer for the city of Campbell because it completely eliminated the budget deficit for this fiscal year. So we are now in a position where we're actually we're now in a revenue positive position. So our budget director had given me some, and he's on this call actually, he had given me some preliminary information about sort of where we're at, and I can't locate it now, but we no longer need to pull the millions of dollars from reserves. We're no longer asking for a $740,000 budget reduction from staff. So we're in a pretty we're in a stable position once again. So that stimulus money, not only is it helping a lot of individual Americans in the terms of these $1,400 checks that are going out, but it's helping the city of Campbell significantly avoid service reductions. So that was a very important development here for the city, and the council will be briefed on it on Tuesday. And the packet and the council report should be available also for your viewing tomorrow on our agenda page. But wanted to share it with you hot off the press because I'm not sure it's been posted yet, but it's definitely public information, and we're very happy.
That's so great.
Yeah, yeah. Good news. So that concludes my staff report, and I'll take any questions if any. All right, thank you.
Sorry, Margarita. Where do we drop it off at City Hall? Like is there a mail slot or?
There is. So there's a mail slot. If you go down the ramp by the police department, like right across the police department doors, there's a black box. It says payments only,
Yeah.
but they'll know to direct that to us. The other, if you can give, if you just want to send a quick email or text me and say I'm on my way, I can also meet you downstairs.
Okay.
And get it from
We put it in that finance box if we're going to drop it.
Yeah. So if you come after hours or anything like that, just slip it in there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And they'll know to direct it to us.
And Margarita, if we mail it, we just stick your name on it and 1 Campbell Avenue and it gets to you?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did mail mine about a week ago, so I guess
Okay.
that,
I'll ask the city clerk, see if she received it.
okay.
Commissioner Brocker, the address is 70 North First Street.
Oh, sorry, I meant that.
1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
All
gave the, I
roads
gave,
lead
I
to
gave
City
the address
Hall.
of the community center.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you for that, Margarita. We are so happy to hear that news about the budget, especially as it relates to all the wonderful work you've gotten to do with us. So that's wonderful. Next up, we have new business. First, we're going to hear about Measure O, the library project update.
All right. Okay, I'd like to reintroduce our Public Works Director, Todd Persa. You heard from him a couple of months ago, and he's related to the mural at the Creek Trail. So he's joining us again. Public Works is leading the Measure O efforts, and he will introduce our consultants and give you more project background. Welcome, Todd.
All right. Thank you very much, Margarita. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. Appreciate everybody's time and your interest in the library project. So I'm just going to kind of tee this up. We've just so you know, we've been having a few technical difficulties behind the scenes, making sure that our architects have the right links to the meeting. So I'm hoping that we're now in better shape than we were at the beginning of this meeting. But to bring everyone up to speed, I think you're all familiar with Measure O, which was passed by approximately 70% of Campbell voters back in November of 18, with the main goal of providing a new facility for our police department and renovating our existing library facility. And so back in the summer of 2020, which seems so long ago now, we brought consultant design teams on for each project. And for the library, we hired a firm called Jason Architecture after a very rigorous process, and they were the most successful team. And we've been working with them ever since on developing some concepts and ideas for how the existing building could be renovated. And I'm going to introduce to you here in just a second, our main architect, our lead architect is Abraham Jason, and he's also got on his team Katie Stewart from Jason Architects. And they will walk you through kind of the process that we've gone through in working with the staff from the library to help identify what the needs are, but we're also recognizing that we are working within kind of the existing footprint of the existing facility. So how can we better utilize that facility after making a significant renovation into it that will help us better utilize the space and provide a better facility for the community? So I'm hoping that Jason, that Abraham is able to join us. Abe, if you're on the.
Yeah, I'm here, Todd. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
I
I apologize for all the behind the scenes drama that we had with the link. So it looks like we're back in business. So I'm going to turn it over to Abe here, and he's going to walk you through the process so far and where we currently are with regard to the preferred conceptual design alternative. So take it away, Abe.
Great. Thank you, Todd. Members of the commission, we're really excited to be here tonight to present this project to you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we have a little bit of a presentation on where we're at in the design process. So let me pull up the presentation. Okay, so everyone should be able to see my screen now. So I want to just take a brief moment to introduce myself. My name's Abe. I'm principal of Jason Architecture, and we are a firm out of San Francisco that really has one of our core areas of focus is public libraries. We really love working on this building type. It gives us great joy to be able to contribute to communities and culture and really form kind of hubs of centers of activity for the towns and cities that these libraries live within. And we're thrilled to be working with the city of Campbell and the Santa Clara Public Libraries. I'll let Katie introduce herself.
Thanks, Abe. I'm Katie Stewart. Despite what my name tag may say, I'm not actually Abraham, Jason. And I'm the project manager for the Campbell Library. Really happy to be here tonight. I've made my career working on public projects like libraries, and it's such a pleasure to get to be involved in a community and creating kind of this core for a community. And it's a real privilege to get to work on the Campbell Library. So thank you.
Thanks, Katie. So we have a relatively sort of brief presentation for you tonight, but it's going to focus on 4 key topics as we kind of build through how we've kind of went through this process with the city and the library of developing the conceptual design. We're going to talk briefly about the existing conditions of the library. We don't need to talk too in depth. I assume all of you are actually quite familiar with the library building, but some of these observations will set up some of the decisions that we have made in the conceptual design. We're going to talk about context. It's really important to kind of understand who Campbell is, the immediate surroundings and the bigger cultural surroundings. We're going to talk about our conceptual design and kind of the underpinnings of it, and then we have some visualizations of what the library is going to look like. So first, I'm going to start on existing conditions. So these are just a couple existing floor plans. I'm not going to walk you through the spaces one by one. I think these are actually primarily good in terms of orientation. When we show you the proposed plans, it'll be oriented in the same way. When you look at this at the bottom of the page, the big ramp that is kind of the main entry off the parking lot is at the bottom of the page, kind of in the middle there. So this will be kind of the orientation as we present the proposed plans. So this is the lower level and the upper level. So one of our first observations in going to the site was it's a very closed in building. You've got this almost kind of protective shield berm around the entire building, and then a moat right behind it. And it really, sort of buries the lower level. Excuse me. It really buries the lower level, and it means it's starved for daylight. It sort of creates a kind of standoffish presence as it relates to the civic environment. So that's one of the key issues that we felt like we needed to explore. The second one is obvious. I'm sure you guys were thinking about this as well, about how we were going to handle these kind of massive problematic ramps as they enter the building. They're not ADA compliant, and they are intimidating, I would say. They also provide this sort of challenge of a split decision when you're almost 100 feet from the building about whether you're going to go up or go down. There's no defined primary entry. So this was another key consideration for us to evaluate and solve. So moving into context. One of the things that we love about this site, kind of walking around it, and is true kind of Orchard Green and then kind of the overall surroundings kind of in the immediate vicinity, is there are these beautiful mature trees. And that's something you don't get on every site. It's a real asset to both the library, the Orchard Green Plaza, and the community. And we wanted to sort of be kind of thoughtful about how the building sits within this existing tree canopy. We also want to think about the relationship of this library to Orchard Green. Now, I know it's a little kind of almost impossible to imagine this event in this COVID moment, but in the future, hopefully the not so distant future, we'll be able to have big gatherings like this again. So we're thinking about how does the building relate, in terms of visual connection between Orchard Green and the library. And then it's part of a civic complex. This is the sort of core kind of governmental center of Campbell. And it's important that it kind of occupies that presence as a civic building. And additionally, you have the Ainsley House kind of at the sort of termination of the Orchard Green, and really, sort of anchoring this as kind of an important, cultural and historical, site within the city of Campbell. It's got a great adjacency to downtown, so it's very walkable. It means that people, could go to the library and also run errands downtown, go grab a bite to eat. We love that relationship. And then lastly, sort of thinking about the bigger cultural context of Campbell, it has this sort of history of agriculture. So that goes back, sort of in decades. And obviously, sort of things have changed. It's not necessarily, an agricultural epicenter anymore. It's got these wonderful tree-lined streets and residential neighborhoods. That's one of the things that makes it so special. And then it also sits kind of at the nexus of the tech industry. And there are, many of the people who live in Campbell, work in Silicon Valley. So we feel like these are important influences, kind of residential character, high-tech industry, and then a kind of wonderful agricultural past. So I'm going to hand it over to Katie, and she's going to talk a little bit about how we kind of started to develop the conceptual design.
Thanks, Abe. So when we start a project, we always like to start with kind of a germ of an idea, which informs the rest of the project, the concept of the project. And for the Campbell Library, the concept that we came up with was this idea of a green thoroughfare through a city. Abe just spoke to how that's sort of something that's very special about Campbell, or these tree-lined avenues, and also the sort of proximity to the Orchard Green really made us think about the idea of a tree thoroughfare that cuts through a city as the sort of conceptual germ. So extrapolating that diagram that you just saw into 3 dimensions, we have this idea of connection, of a green path connecting through a building. So on one hand, you can imagine that there's an entry, and on the other side, you can imagine that that's the Orchard Green, and this is a path that connects through the building itself. And then this is what that might look like, kind of extrapolated into a really rough shape that's approximately the floor plan of the building. So the white is kind of the surrounding city, so to speak, and the green is that green thoroughfare. All right, diving right into the plan. I think first I want to orient you to one of the most important changes we feel like we're making to the library, which is the entry sequence. So down at the bottom of the page, the large orange arrow that you see there, that's the front entry. And what we're actually doing is we're creating a new level, one that is half a level higher than the lower level and half a level lower than the upper level to enter at. So when you walk into the building, you're walking into it at grade. And when you walk into this space, you're going to be able to really easily wayfind through the use of kind of a large open double height atrium. You're going to be able to easily tell where you want to go within the building. And you're going to be able to see where you need to go, which is a really important change from the way the building functions right now. Then to kind of talk more in generalities, this green area, this is actually the upper level floor plan to orient you. This green area is what we're calling the marketplace. So this is kind of a new books and lounge area. Directly off of this area, there are 2 dark blue zones. The smaller one are the 3 kind of small group meeting rooms. These are a space where you could come maybe with some coworkers or with a tutor, or maybe the lawyer in the library type program, and have a sort of a small independent chat that would be a little bit more private. And then on the right-hand side of the page, number 8, this is your large community meeting room. So this would be for events, and it's actually a divisible space. So it's really flexible, something that you could use for a range of different uses. And then on the left-hand side, the yellow colored space, this is your children's area. So really fun, nice space right off of the kind of main entry, and a nice connection actually through to the community meeting room, because we know that the community meeting room serves kind of dual usage as the story time space, which we hear is wildly popular. So nice connection between those 2 spaces, not walking up and down the stairs anymore, and really giving this kind of prominent corner on Civic Center Drive over to the kiddos, so you can see this nice active space within the library. And then really briefly, I'll just touch on up in the top right-hand corner, the gray spaces. These are the restrooms and the support spaces. And then this is the same floor plan, but just kind of re-emphasizing that diagram that I talked about. We've got this green thoroughfare. So you walk in the front door, which is at the bottom of the page. You have this nice kind of lobby space, feels really nice and open, that connects you straight through to the Orchard Green. This is incidentally why we had been calling this the Orchard Green scheme, because of its really excellent connection through to Orchard Green. And you're going to have actually at the end of that space another double height window with a view out to Orchard Green, and some nice seating area alongside it that's really going to, again, emphasize this connection to the outdoors, to the existing mature trees that you have, and make it feel like a really nice space. Then the lower level is given over primarily to the adults collection, which is shown in orange. There's also going to be an enclosed quiet reading room, so no talking area, which we know is also very popular with your patrons. There is a teen area, which is shown in teal on the left-hand side of the page. There's kind of a medium meeting room, which is shown in dark blue. So again, if your group is not quite large enough to use one of the divided community room spaces, but larger than maybe a 4-person group, it's a good space for that. And then on the right-hand side, in kind of the medium blue, we have the staff areas. And then taking a step back out, we're looking at the site plan. You'll notice that the footprint of the building stays the same. We're not doing an addition. We're not taking away from the square footage of it. It's staying almost exactly the same square footage. We are, however, going to be creating kind of a new plaza at the entryway, and it's going to take the place of where that ramp was. So you're going to have a much more open entry with a paved area that could be used maybe for book drop-offs. I know that you have kind of a bike repair program, lots of different uses for this little paved strip, paved area in front of the library. And we're also considering adding a drive aisle between the 2 parking lots to sort of promote easier circulation, vehicular circulation on the site. We're also going to be creating a sidewalk indicated with number 8 that connects the library back to the sidewalk along Civic Center Drive, as well as the bus stop that's located right there. And then I'd also like to show you, just to kind of help emphasize what I was talking about with these double height spaces, I'd like to show you a section cut through the building. So that's the section is going to be cut where that red arrow just showed up, where the red line showed up. So here's a section through the building. So you can see at number 1, this is the at-grade entry that I've been talking about. The new entry where you don't need a ramp up, you basically can just walk into the building and then very easily wayfind from within the space, rather than kind of having to make that choose your own adventure choice right all the way at the beginning of the ramp. Then we're going to be introducing some new light monitors, clerestory windows in the roof, which is really going to bring a lot of daylight into the space. Right now, because the building's, because of its rectangular shape, it's kind of difficult to get light into the center of the space. So these new light monitors are really going to open it up, make it feel lighter and brighter and better daylit. And then you can see over on the right-hand side at number 3, this is where we're creating that double height window looking out to Orchard Green. And that's going to be something that you're going to be able to experience from both levels. We've been looking really carefully at grading around the building such that this double height window will bring daylight into the lower level. You'll be able to see out to the green from the lower level and the upper level, and really, again, emphasize that connection back to the Orchard Green. And then I'll hand it back over to Abe, and he'll show you what this might look like.
Thanks, Katie. So now we're gonna take a look at how this might start to get developed in terms of the experience of the building. We are looking at a primary material of a dark gray metal. We like this material for a couple of reasons. The first of which is it's a very refined material, and it's also timeless. This is not a material that is a fad or that will go out of style. It will look good today, and it will look good in 20 years. It's also a very durable material, and this is a civic building. It needs to sort of weather the test of time, and it also needs to be friendly to maintenance staff. So we like that sort of duality of kind of timelessness and kind of refined character, coupled with ease of maintenance and durability. As an accent to the dark gray metal, we're looking at a very warm, potentially regionally local Western red cedar. So this would be kind of this warm accent that plays off that dark gray. And this is a really wonderful combination, the warmth of the wood next to that kind of quieter, refined gray metal panel. The first sort of image we're going to show you here is from the northeast. And this is kind of as if you had just parked your car and you're about to walk toward the lobby, the plaza, to enter through the main lobby. And what you can see here is, again, that kind of refined gray palette and the kind of accent of that wood. One of the things that's very different than the existing building, again, sort of reinforcing what Katie discussed, is now you enter the building at the same level of the plaza. You have a very defined canopy and a very defined front entrance, and these grand civic scale windows that bring you in. Bay windows accent the building and give depth and kind of interest to the facade. And it belies what is actually a very simple building form. The next image, this is from the southeast. So this is as if you'd just gotten off the bus. So this is a kind of a pedestrian view or someone arriving from the bus. And what you can see here is that sort of really kind of wonderful sort of elimination of the kind of mound of earth, that barrier around the perimeter. And we're sort of very carefully shaping the grade. The plaza occurs at the same level as the parking lot. And then we're sloping down at this corner to bring in these tall windows. And what you can see is the activity inside the building is really apparent from this view. You can see books, you can see life. In fact, you can see all the way through the building, out that double height window on the other side, all the way through to Orchard Green. So we love that kind of connection through the building. The next view is from the southwest corner. So this is as if you were just entering Orchard Green. And what you can see here is, again, really taking advantage of the mature trees as we start to wrap the side of the building. These trees frame the building. There's magnolias on the right and redwood on the left. And they sort of have this wonderful verticality that's actually even grander than the library itself. We love that. We love that sort of natural kind of, I don't know if it's natural history is the right term, but kind of the longevity of the site and these beautiful trees on it. And then we also have a little bit of signage because we know that the building needs to announce itself to the street on this side as well as just to the parking lot. The next view is kind of as if you're up towards the Ainsley House on the Orchard Green looking back to the building. And one of the things we really like about this view is the fact that the tree canopy is almost the more important thing, and the building almost becomes a bit of a backdrop to the trees. One thing you can see is that double height wall of glass that Katie spoke to in the section. And you can see how that does create this kind of wonderful connection. You can see, imagine sitting in that chair and kind of looking out on activity on Orchard Green as being a really wonderful spot. And then the last view is kind of from the middle of the Orchard Green Plaza. And what you can see here is how the building really opens up at this spot. So this was where there was kind of formerly, sort of a stair that kind of went up and provided a second entry to the building. And instead, we've created this double height kind of wall of glass that really creates this wonderful indoor-outdoor connection and really sort of plays off the civic qualities of this kind of wonderful outdoor space. And then we've got one interior perspective. So we're only in conceptual design and we haven't really developed the interiors with, sort of the same level of detail as we have the floor plan and the exteriors. But this is a great image to really show and re-emphasize that concept of the Orchard Green, that greenway that connects you through the building, the idea that you step in and you are connected to Orchard Green on the other side. So this is as if you'd walked in the front door, you'd entered the lobby, and you can see the space is really transformed from what it currently is. It's so much more open. You can see down to the lower level. There's a visual connection between the children's area and the circulation desk. You can see all the way through to the tree canopy on the other side. And you can see these kind of light monitors in the middle of the space, kind of bringing light into the middle, really activating the space and making it feel like a much more connected building rather than a bunch of disparate parts. So I'm going to give a brief summary before we hand it over to Q&A. A couple of just sort of very high level points about the design. The first, Katie touched on this, the overall square footage remains unchanged. The big one, we've removed those massive, intimidating, non-code compliant, non-accessible ramps from the front of the building, and we've given back a wonderful plaza. We're working with our landscape architect to really develop what that could be, but it's going to be a great new civic space. We've got new clerestory windows that bring light into the middle of the building. Right now, it's very kind of dead and sort of lit by, you know, kind of fluorescent lights in the middle, and it'll really enliven and kind of make the middle of the building feel sort of much more comfortable. We've got a refined facade, which is a mix of metal and wood. It's a material palette that is designed to look good today and to look good in 20 years, 30 years, etc. And then, you know, as Katie spoke to, that connection to the Orchard Green is really emphasized. That's key to the concept, that you, as you walk into the building, you're connected all the way through to the Civic Complex on the other side of the building. So with that, I'll turn it over to Q&A. I'll stop share. I can pull this up again at any time. So I'll stop my share right now.
I had a question, Abe, on the green space in between that, you know, you said is designed to kind of be a visual indicator that outside and inside. Is that just purely going to be achieved with the double-story windows and just bringing the trees in, or is it actually part of the design to actually use the color green in that space, or, you know, or is it just the windows?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still working through our interior palette, so I wouldn't say we're necessarily committed to a color. I see it more as a metaphorical greenway than a literal greenway. So we're not actually planting trees in the middle of the library, but the idea is that you're in the middle of the building, yet you can still look out and, you know, be connected to that wonderful tree canopy.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, of course.
So this is actually my second time seeing this presentation. I watched it first when it was done for the city council. But one question I have is, you know, given how long this building it will hopefully last and be of use, you know, to us as a library, and given future, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, digital transition or digital needs, you know, was much direction given to you in regards to that, or because I didn't see on the I know you guys are still working on the interior and everything, but is that you know, allocating space for unknown future technology needs?
Right.
Yeah, that's a great thing to plan for. But you know, is that a consideration of this project?
Definitely. So I'll speak a little bit to it, and then you know, perhaps even maybe Jennifer could chime in too. But so first of all, we are actively working on kind of the interiors and kind of collections layout. We are absolutely going to be integrating technology into the building. So each of those small study rooms will have kind of multimedia opportunities. So those could be used for teleconferencing, small presentations, work study, etc. And then the large community meeting room will also have monitors on either side, built-in AV speakers in the ceiling. So a much better environment for you know, a true presentation or a workshop. And then we've also got the kind of medium-sized meeting room on the lower level, which could be used by teens when they're in the teen space, but because it's separated, also provides use for a group that's more in the kind of 8 to 10 person size. So we've got great kind of you know, high technology spaces that are going to be served you know, sort of different scale groups. We've got the kind of 2 to 4 size group in the small group study rooms. We've got the 8 to 10 in the meeting room, and then the community meeting room is divisible into 2 groups of, you know, 50 or so, and then actually with standing room space, it could go up to about 200 people. So it's sort of it's very flexible in that regard. And then we are talking about building in power and data into the stack areas, so that should you know, collections be removed for different technologies in the future, there would be an opportunity to add you know, other technologies, you know, perhaps ones we don't yet know about, but certainly in terms of just connections for computers, you know, plugs for mobile devices, etc. Jennifer, if you want to chime in a little bit, you're welcome to. Otherwise, sort of, I do think that kind of sums up kind of how we're thinking about this.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Abe, and thank you for the question. I think that that's the word you've used is flexible. So that is very much a part of this project to ensure that we're not nailing a bunch of stuff down, right? That we're absolutely looking ahead to what we have next year and what we have in 10 years and making sure that the space can move and pivot to the needs as we know we like to do and often do to the community. So absolutely, the flexibility is very key to what we're doing, and we'll always be looking ahead to what new formats and creative things we can add to the library's learning space.
This one is a bit of a leading question, I will say in advance, but I'm on the public art subcommittee and we're always interested in more places we could put together public art around town, and that Entry Plaza sounded interesting. So my slightly leading question is, are there places in the design or any thoughts to, in addition to the beautiful building that you put together, like some sort of like points of interest or public art opportunities there might be in addition to what's there?
Yeah. So first of all, I love integrating public art into projects. Sort of just had wonderful experiences with artists on many of the projects I've worked on. I think there's definitely opportunity, certainly in the newly kind of reclaimed plaza on the exterior. I love the idea of some kind of outdoor sculpture that's maybe biophilic and could kind of work. That's going to be about, I think you saw in the plan, it's not super developed, but it's about half plaza hardscape that's maybe, for civic programming, but the other half of it is greenscape. So there's a great opportunity there.
Mm-hmm.
There's potentially some spots inside the building. I would have to defer to the library and the city about kind of public art process and sort of integration on that, but I certainly think there are opportunities.
That's great. Do other commissioners have questions?
Do we have any idea of timeline for groundbreaking or when they're going to begin the?
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to it, and Todd, if you want to jump in, you're welcome to. So right now we're going to be in the design phase essentially through the end of the year, and we're looking to go out to permit around the new year, give or take a month or so, and then that would mean bidding sometime. Probably, I don't have a schedule in front of me, but spring of next year, and potentially looking at construction start maybe late summer of 2022. Todd, does that sound right in terms of the schedule we've been discussing?
Yes, Abe, thank you for that. Yeah, that's very close. Yes, we were planning on, we do have several more, kind of progress check-ins that we're going to do along the way. As Abe stated earlier in his presentation, that this is more or less the update on where we are with the conceptual design. We do have some check-in points with the council along the way. The next check-in point, just to make you all aware, will be the first council meeting in April, which is April 6th, and we will take what's called a schematic design to council at that point. So that's the very early version of putting a little more definition to what you're seeing before you. But Abe is definitely right on that the goal is to kind of help wrap up that more precise kind of plan and spec work that has to be done probably by about the end of the year is the target, but we do think it will go into early 2022, and then we'll have a bid process in the spring with construction starting in the summer of, late spring, early summer of 22. And what we're tentatively targeting is having construction completed in late 2023. That also offers me the opportunity to give you a couple more pieces of information that I think were perhaps touched on earlier. Is that the library will be vacating the current space that they're in early April of this year, and will be helping them shift over to a temporary operation in the E wing out of the community center. So we're looking at having a temporary library space in E46 out at the community center. Perhaps as early as next month, we have some improvements and that we'd like to make on that building and on that room in particular in advance of them moving. But once they move into that, they would be in there for the better part of 2.5 years or so as they await the improvements. So again, the next check-in point with council will be April. The target for groundbreaking is late spring, early summer of 22, with the target of being having the new facility completed in late 23. And I would also like to take this opportunity to say in the report you got, we gave you a summary of the library budget and what that translates into construction. So overall, we're looking at a project budget of approximately 21 million with the construction budget of 16.8 million. There'll be a lot of refinement over the coming months as to what will be included in that scope and what won't. But one important point to note is that in the source of funding in your report, we did talk about a $510,000 contribution from the Santa Clara County Library District, which we had designated as tentative. It is a great pleasure to report at this time that contribution has been voted in by the board, and so that carries over into the project. So you can scratch the tentative off of that report, and we continue to move forward and make things a little more definitive as the project progresses.
And again, to continue my line of questioning, if we were interested in like an artist honorarium for said public art project, is that something to discuss out of this budget? Like, I don't know, I'm sure there's stuff already allocated between the construction budget and the total budget, but is that a conversation to have, and who would that be with?
I think that's definitely a conversation to have. It's hard to give you a definitive answer of whether or not that could be included in the project budget or not. But if it can be, that's great. And if it can't be, then it's still going to be important to perhaps identify a space where something could be provided, even if it comes in after the fact. So kind of along the same lines, we're also looking at opportunities within the library to have something that you might call history designated spaces, where maybe we can highlight the history of Campbell. And I don't know how definitive we're going to be, or how definite we can include the actual exhibits or displays that might go, but we're certainly going to identify the areas where those could go. You could potentially approach public art in the same manner that it would be great if the project could kind of include all these things, but even kind of as a I hate to call it a worst case scenario, but in the event that the project can't, we could at least define the spaces, and then those projects could kind of come and take shape and form on their own, and maybe come in at the completion of the project. So I think it's important to at least identify the locations where those might have the best value and benefit to the community.
Great.
And is that something that goes into the schematic design, or it's just like, at what point does that get designated, and where, and who does it?
Great question. And I probably don't have a definitive answer for you at this point. I think the schematic design will really be about putting more definition into the structure of the building. And then kind of as that takes shape, we'll kind of fan out from there, because we certainly have resources that will go into what we're calling site improvements, right? So that may be how we improve the parking lot and how we improve the accessibility from things like the bus stop and maybe the ADA spaces. And so everything will kind of be a give and take for what the budget can absorb, and maybe what has to potentially be deferred. But I think at least defining the opportunity spaces for that should be done as early on as possible. So we'll certainly take that information forward and continue that conversation as we go back to council. It's a good thing that Abe and Katie are on the call, as am I. So we certainly take that input and move forward with that, and we'll see where we can provide additional definition for that.
Thank you, Todd, because I think if there's one takeaway, just to share with the council in terms of this presentation to the Civic Improvement Commission would be the interest in designated public art space, and perhaps even some budget amount for that public art.
Sure. Yes. Coming through loud and clear.
One more thing I would ask, and Todd, this is great, and I appreciate Abraham and Katie giving us an overview. Can we get these, periodically when it makes sense, and also maybe Margarita giving this group a heads up when it's going to come to the council meetings, so that we can stay, really well informed, and if there are questions we have, it just keeps our connection a little bit stronger. This is. I mean, so excited. I'm so excited that this is happening. So, if we can continue to stay connected, we really appreciate it. And, that we've been waiting for this new library. I can't tell you for how long time. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. I think we can definitely do that. We'll look for opportunities along the way to see where we can maybe loop back and keep you apprised as to the progress of the project. As I say, we're only a few weeks away from taking the next step to council, which is the schematic design, and then there probably won't be another check-in with council till much later in the year. But there might be an opportunity for a check-in somewhere along the lines as you suggest, because I don't think we want to go months and months and then have those months turn into years before you get your next update. So we'll certainly work with the architect and the project team and Margarita and Diana to see how we can get plugged in to a future CIC opportunity. So appreciate that.
And Todd, you said that's on the 6th at the city council meeting on the 6th. It will be when they're reviewing for the schematic design.
Yes, that is correct. So what you will see that night is what Abe and Katie have presented tonight, which is the Orchard Green concept. And it starts to take a little bit more definitions, right? So it'll be the same concept. It'll just, I should let Abe answer that question better than I, but it will be taking, turning that concept into reality. So Abe, if you'd like to chime in and, maybe give them a little more of a preview of what they might see at that meeting, this would be a good opportunity.
Yeah. So we're going to be, so Todd is right that, those of you who did attend the conceptual design presentation to council, you saw that we had two options at that presentation. We've now selected that option, and we've been kind of working through the schematic design to develop that. So when we come back to the council with the schematic design, we will kind of take another look at the exterior of the building and see where things have been updated. Largely conceptually, the framework will remain unchanged, but you'll see some changes that we've adapted in many ways, we think made better in terms of how the building meets grade, in terms of kind of entry and kind of smaller things. These are kind of getting a little bit more into details. And then we're also going to step inside the building more. So we're going to see a little bit more development of the interiors. So up to this point, the renderings have really been kind of focused on the envelope of the building, how the building meets Orchard Green, how it meets the street, that plaza. And so we will really start to sort of step inside the individual spaces a little bit more and get a feel for, kind of the material palette. So it'll be, sort of updates to the exterior as you've seen, and then some kind of new stuff that hasn't been presented yet on the interior.
Thank you.
Well, great. If there are no further questions, thank you so much for this presentation. I think you're hearing the enthusiasm from all of us about this project, and I wish it was the end of 2023 and we were seeing it live, but that's exciting to look forward to. So thank you so much.
All All right, very good. We appreciate your comments, and I'd like to thank Abe and Katie for their great presentation, but we also take your comments forward and appreciate all the input. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
Well, next under new business, we now move to our financial year 2022-23 social service sub-grants funding recommendations.
Yes. So this is our continuation. This is our second public hearing. At the last meeting in February, we had the pleasure of hearing from our applicants who presented to you a little bit more information about who they are, how they serve the community, and how they serve Campbell in general. At this meeting, you will discuss what amounts you would like to recommend for funding to the City Council. And based on your funding recommendations, the City Council, that amount will be presented to the City Council during their adopted budget, and then the City Council will vote on whether there is funding or whether they are voting to fund the social service subgrant in the next fiscal year. We do have representatives from all the agencies, or most of the agencies, joining us. And we have our finance director, Will Fuentes, who I don't think you've met before, but he's also joining us since he is in presenting the budget, and these funding recommendations will be part of the budget. He's joining to listen and be maybe answer any questions you may have. And let's see and we have Tina Wong Erling, our senior supervisor, who has led the social service subgrant effort for many years now, is also here to help get us through this next step and discussion. I am going to share my screen because I think what would be helpful for us to look at will be this matrix where the matrix that lists the applicants and the amounts requested. So we have $55,000 budgeted at this time for the social service subgrants. And in the first year, we have requests in the amount of $70,500. And in the following fiscal year, it's $69,835. And the red number you see in parentheses is the delta in terms of the amount of funding that was requested in excess of what we have currently budgeted. So Tina, I don't know if you want to begin in guiding the commission in terms of how they want to lead how they want to discuss this, or if the commissioners just want to begin kind of with potential ways of how they want to develop the funding recommendations. I'm not sure how. I don't know. I would appreciate if you can give us some guidance.
Sure. Good evening, commissioners and everyone present, the agencies and staff. So in the past, the commission has freely, discussed the funding recommendation. So I really do encourage. I believe it's Commissioner Fields that's chairing the meeting this evening. So if you're comfortable, you can maybe start the discussion with the commission.
Sure, that sounds good. And I actually prepared something based on a comment I had made last time, which was, I think, in response to Chair Kaufman saying, given that the budget is the same year over year, probably the simplest thing to do is just continue previous funding. I put together one alternative proposal for the purposes of discussion today that I could show in a second, but I do see Commissioner Rocker, you've had your virtual hand raised. So feel free to say something too, but I put together basically that proposal and then one other one. So we at least had something to, discuss a little bit more.
And I did pretty much the same. We might have even come up with the same proposals. So yeah, I mean, just for the sake of ease, we could just approve the same amounts or recommend the same amounts, I should say, given that our budget hasn't changed, and call it a day. Unless, and there's a caveat there, unless we want to entertain the thought of not funding one of these groups, which I would rather not do personally. And then that could change that could potentially change the numbers. But I feel, I like all of these groups personally, and I wish we could give them all what they request, but we can't. So, and the alternative plan that I came up with involved a little bit of math, but it took taking the total amount requested by the groups and then awarding them a percentage based on what fraction of the total amount that they're requesting going forward and applying it to the 55,000, and the numbers come out differently. Some get overfunded, some get obviously the rest get underfunded, and it would give us a little bit of wiggle room in terms of allocating some money. But I think that unnecessarily complicates things, honestly.
I could share. Can I share my screen?
Yes, you have the ability.
Okay, and does that work?
Yes.
Okay. So I also did math, and I think the math is correct. So what I did, I took what I said last time. So this is what I think, is what the asks were based on the existing budget. And obviously there was a deficit. I think I mentioned last time that I looked at it as a function of what portion of the budget from the agency comes from the Civic Improvement Commission. So I went through the presentations they sent. And then this next slide then shows you, let me go to slide, I can do slide only. I do slideshow. There, can you see that? Cool.
Yes.
So this one, if I go to the next slide, if it lets me, there we go. Okay, so this one is what percentage based on the numbers submitted of their budget is from CIC funding. And I think the things that jump out are St. Lucie and then the senior adults legal assistance. It's pretty large. And then the other thing that I looked at was, does the agency primarily serve, like who does it primarily serve? And those two as well, basically almost all of their service goes to, as best I could tell, but the service went to Campbell residents. And then I noted these three were county and then Catholic Charities, obviously Service County, but also as a state and nationwide. And so based on that, I said, okay, something that was brought up in the meeting is Next Door Solutions was actually below, I believe, some sort of minimum funding level. The two questions I mentioned, and then the two proposals as a result. So again, the easy one is the same as we looked at before. And the alternative, which again, I'll before I put this up, I'll say I don't actually know if I'm advocating for this one, but again, it's just for the sake of discussion. This is what I came up with, which is to, if I go in order, slightly bump up the two charities where we made up a pretty large portion of their budget and they primarily serve Campbell, bump up Next Door Solutions to the minimum funding level. And again, unfortunately, the money has to come from somewhere. So in this case, I looked at the charity that was the sort of largest in terms of its full footprint, and that's where it came from. And then these two, Health Trust and Live Oak, I left same as sort of again under these principles of start with the Campbell places, try and get to a minimum level, and go from there. So I will open it up for discussion on this or other ideas.
Commissioner Fields, could you put up your other, well, I'll give her, if everyone has looked over proposal B and had time to absorb it a little bit, if you wouldn't mind going back to proposal A.
Yeah.
That's okay with everyone?
And so A, I mean, literally would be
It's the
since
same.
yeah, this would be just to, these were the request amounts. But we didn't have the budget for it, so we would just run back what we did last time.
And Margarita, do you know, is there any, is there any potential to find any budget anywhere else? Like, have we asked? I mean, I know that everyone's been running lean and concerned with cuts, big cuts and staff cuts and everything, but now that we are not going to be running in a deficit, is there any potential for having any departments that we could, because we've done that in the past where they asked us to cut a bunch and then, we just went to council and said, we really feel strongly about this and we don't want to cut this that much if possible. And we were able to get a few $1,000s more, which doesn't sound like much, but, to somebody like, next door or somebody who's getting $5,000, an extra 1,000 is a lot.
Yeah, so the budget, the amount that we budgeted, I guess, is $55,000. And, great news about the stimulus bill, but I think, we're still in kind of these economically constrained times. And I think to the close, I would recommend you stay within your $55,000. I think going above $55,000 might be to the detriment of the entire program in terms of, the council, there's limited dollars going around.
Yep.
So I would strongly recommend you stay within your 55,000. I think that is maintaining with what the program was provided in terms of a budget. Just to in an abundance of, prudency right now in terms of, scarcity of dollars. I would recommend just stay within your 55,000.
Okay.
So Commissioner Yoshikawa, are you finished before I jump in?
Go ahead, thanks.
Okay. Vice Chair Fields, thank you for putting this together.
Sure.
It had everyone's thoughts from what we were talking about last time. Proposal A is a kind of a simple way to go, but I appreciate the thoughts in proposal B, and maybe I was looking at that Health Trust, which was the one that got impacted. Oh, Catholic Charities. So I was looking at proposal B and thinking, taking away so much from Catholic Charities, maybe we split the difference with next door and give them an extra, I don't know, $1,000, $3,500, and then be able to bring back some of that to Catholic Charities. They do a lot of good work right now. Not that all of these aren't deserving, and if there was more money, it would be, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. We'd be able to give people what they asked for. But just making maybe that small adjustment, and whether we increase the bottom two by, I guess it looks like by about 1,000, do we want to shift that to maybe 500? Just kind of looking at adjusting it in such a way that we kind of balance it, because I see normally we don't give above what they ask. That's very rare unless we have extra dollars. Trying to adjust it in a way that one group doesn't take such a big hit is something to consider, given the situation.
Yeah, makes sense. Commissioner Yoshikawa?
Yeah, I had a question on the FY22 proposal column versus FY23.
I think I slightly mislabeled this.
Okay.
So the very first column here is what we did last year. The middle column is what everyone asked for in 22. And then the third column is this proposed.
Yeah.
I'm proposing this, we would do the same for 22 and 23.
Right.
The proposals actually have subtle differences in what they ask, in what everyone asked for between the 2 years. But I think it's a little bit moot because we're over budget anyway. So the third column, I think, is the one we're playing around with, which the net of, just to continue with what Commissioner Hoffman said, basically this takes 4,500 from Catholic Charities and redistributes 2,500 of it to next door to get to the baseline, and does 1,000 to St. Lucie and 1,000 to Sala.
Right.
So I think there's alternatives, you know, to that, but that's sort of the math of this one.
So I agree with Commissioner Hoffman on all of her points, that yes, their points are well taken, with, you know, not having such a disparity between received in the past and what, you know, we might approve. But I love the way, you know, you put this other lens on it as far as funding models and how much comes from the city of Campbell. So I think that's a great way to look at it too. So I think we kind of just can meet in the middle somewhere between, you know, the funding on the model proposal B that you have here, and then you know, like Commissioner Hoffman said. So can we let's see, can we do a live, can we I wish we had a whiteboard.
Well, I could live, I mean, I can't live edit. Let me try this one on for you.
Add a column, and can we play with numbers?
What do you think of a proposal? When I add this, it's gonna goof up the formatting a little bit, but I'll fix it.
Even if we just added a new column and kind of, you know.
Okay.
And there would be formulas, right?
Yeah. Can I just add in? Can I just add in that I like the idea of kind of giving a, you know, a nod, I suppose, to the hometown groups. So, and I think that was a great way to look at it too.
Agreed.
Yeah, and again, I would stress, I think all of the work is really great, and I wish we just had the money to do it all and more.
Yes.
So here's a proposal, like what if we changed it so there were just 3 $1,000 increases down here, and then this was reduced from 4,500 down to 3,000?
Are you showing?
I haven't. I'm just talking, so I could write it out. But I think in the net would be, this would become 6,000. This would stay the same.
Catholic Charities would become 6,000.
Yeah.
The Health Trust would stay the same at 13,500.
Right. And so basically what I'm saying is, like, these, we would increase the last 3 by 1,000.
Next door, St. Lucie and adult legal, senior legal, increase all those by 1,000 and increase.
Right.
Increase.
Vice Chair Fields, is it possible for you to share your screen as you're typing?
Did it stop sharing?
No, well, it's just on a static proposal B slide.
Oh, I've been editing it.
It's not updating.
No, hold on.
It'd be more helpful to see kind of what you're editing, because otherwise it's.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Sorry, Zoom has this optimized for video clip setting that for some reason, if I don't do that. Okay, so you couldn't see what I was doing, so that must have made less sense.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I added the column and I've been typing in numbers.
Yeah, just because for purposes of of this meeting and the adoption of the recommended amounts, it's really good to have kind of a clear sense of what you're thinking, as you're thinking it, and so that we're very clear on what we're adopting.
No, that makes sense. No, my bad about not sharing. So to state what I believe we are now discussing is this row, which based on the discussion so far, there was I think a primary desire to reduce the decrease, to Catholic charities, recognizing the importance of that work, and understanding that, if we could do some minor increases in other places, that would be great. So I think the notes on this one is instead of going to 5K, this one goes up 1,000. So there's basically 3 1K increases, and then Catholic charities is a 3K decrease. Is our current proposal, and we can keep keep going from here.
Davis, are you able to do a sum total at the bottom there, or do you have to calculate it manually?
It hasn't been working, but I don't know if it was the thing I worked, but the function has not been. Can you do that right in the box in PowerPoint? I know you can in Excel.
Right. I do not know.
Well, we could just do it manually.
Yeah. So is that our tally?
Yeah.
No.
I'm pretty sure that's right, but
I think that the total's off.
Oh, well, there we go.
Uh,
Oh, you're right. There's
We're 500 short.
yes, correct. That
Yep.
is.
So who do we want to give the 500 to?
No, I think are we saying we're 500 short, or we have 500 too? Oh, we are 500 short.
Yeah, we're at 54.5 with those numbers right now. So somebody
Maybe
can get it.
Next door.
Well, why aren't we giving Catholic charities back that $500 delta?
Seems aligned with the rest of our discussion.
Yes, they took the biggest hit.
They also have the biggest budget.
Yeah, right. Relative to their budget, it's the smallest
Yep.
hit.
Mm-hmm.
It's the least significant change.
I would prefer to give it to next door, the $500, as opposed to Catholic charities, but that's just my 2 cents. So I think we're gonna have
do a quick show of hands between the two.
Well, and Vice Chair Fields, we may want to hear from all the commissioners, maybe do a roundtable to see where.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
Yep.
Why don't I keep it like this and point out that we have this extra amount right now, and then we'll do the roundtable, and then we can decide what to do from. Commissioner Chase, would you like to share any thoughts?
I think the only thought that I have is that I agree with Commissioner Yoshikawa. I think that the extra 500, I would prefer to put it with the next door for domestic violence.
Okay. Commissioner Dooley?
I concur with that.
Okay. I feel like I'm taking Andrea's job. Commissioner Hoffman?
I'm okay with that too. I think either the 500 with next door or back to Catholic charities, but next door's only been on. I think we've only funded them once or twice before, I believe. And right now they probably need more than most given the pandemic. So I'm okay with that change.
Okay. Well, we've heard from the other two commissioners, unless I'm missing anybody, but you're welcome to chime in again.
I'm in favor of next door as well. I particularly remember when she made her presentation that, you know, she was rather adamant that they really needed, you know, as much as we could give them.
Yeah. I don't
Okay.
have anything else to add.
So it sounds like, and then we should do the math one more time. I'm not quite sure where I lost that $500. But we're saying that this would go to 4. Yeah, so this would go to 4. So that would be a 1.5K increase from what was approved last year. St. Lucie would be a 1K. Sala would be 1K. Live Oak, same. Health Trust, 1. Well, is this what we missed? Or were we trying to improve? I'm trying to remember. I think Commissioner Hoffman, you at one point mentioned Health Trust, which we might have not followed up on.
No, we're okay with Health Trust because
okay.
we're giving them what they
are.
asked for, so we were able to do that. And they're, I believe, they're the ones who serve the meals.
Yeah. We are not. I mean, in that case, we did not increase. And the logic on it was just, again, sort of the portion of budget argument. And then Catholic Charities. So I think we started at you know, a proposal of 5,000. We're concluding at 6. And so that's the 3,500 difference that we are then making up down here.
Yes.
Okay.
And now your numbers jive, so you should be at 55.
Perfect. Someday I'll figure out how to do a sum in PowerPoint too.
And can we go ahead, since we have this in front of us and it's live, can we update the column headers just to keep in mind with, you know, what was requested, what was, you know, we have approved and then requested and then proposal, you know, proposed.
Yeah, why don't I always hate doing live prototyping. So I think if I put this into this chart where I think I have the numbers right, it might make it the cleanest.
Okay.
Which is, this is what was requested, and then this is what we discussed. So, I think this is correct. I'm like looking at the PowerPoint too.
And we're voting for both years, right?
Correct.
Oh, I was just going to ask that.
And then do we have a finalized budget for FY23?
So, I mean, Will can correct me, but no, we don't, because the council adopts 1 year at a time. The way the social service subgrants program has been set up, it's a 2 year grant program.
Yep.
So the FY23 recommendations would be repeated again next. So you don't have to do this job again of you know, requesting applications and having this discussion. But as we are doing with when we present the recommended budget, we will be presenting the recommended budget in fiscal year 23 recommended budget with that column again. So the 2-year funding isn't guaranteed, and
correct.
Yeah, and if it may be possible that this next fiscal year is granted the 55,000, and then it just may be the case that for some reason there's no money next year, and then it could say we can't continue. We can't continue with the second year of funding.
So we're not deciding on it tonight.
No, you are deciding what you're going to recommend. What the caveat is that it is not guaranteed to be funded into.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I would like to recommend to put this out there for us to have what we are proposing based on the approved allotment and the budget that we have, the 55,000 for FY22. But then for FY23, I would like to keep the numbers in as they requested and keep the budget or the total at 7,500. And then, cross that bridge next year when we get to it to see if there's any, Commissioner Hoffman,
Yeah, so my understanding was, and maybe Margarita can clarify, we don't redo this. So we decide now on both years, and I don't believe that we can go in over budget. We need to go in within the budget that they expect to have. And if there's a budget change, we can take this information and make an adjustment. But my understanding is, and Margarita, maybe you can correct me, or if Will is still on the call, if we do need to come in at budget, or can we propose over budget?
So you should be coming in budget, right? Because that's what the budgeted amount is, 55,000. I suppose you can recommend over budget, but I think, as I said, it's a detriment to just the program, because you are going above budget. I think that the best, I have no crystal ball to see what our finances are going to be like a year from now, see if there might be additional funding or not. But the amount that we have, that we've been told is budget is $55,000. So I will stick to that.
The expectation is that the commission comes back with recommendations for 55,000 for both fiscal years.
Correct.
Okay. And the reason why I brought that up for newer commissioners is that going through this process in the past, we had already cut 15,000 from the budget that we had in previous years and previous cycles. So, that was it was always maybe we can bring it back, maybe we can bring it back. So I just wanted to try and keep that in the front of mind for the city council to, maybe bring that back, anytime we have an opportunity to just get a few more dollars back into, increase that amount from the 55K back up to, where it was 4 years ago, 2 years ago, 6 years ago, et cetera. That's why I was suggesting that.
I would like to add that there was a one time that the council did approve a slightly higher amount, but from what I recall, it's been 55,000. And it's not something where we had a lot of money and they just took it away. It was just, I think it was 1 or 2 years or one cycle where they allowed us and they gave us extra money just that one time. And I can't agree enough with Margarita that we have to be very cautious, or the commission should be very cautious.
Mm-hmm.
We've had council members in the past who were not on the same page and felt this was more of a county program. And so I would also caution you to keep that in mind, that, especially during these times, we have to be careful about what we're asking for.
Sure. And understood. I was just explaining, where my opinion was coming from.
Actually, can I ask our finance director also for this professional opinion?
All right. So I tend to agree that while we just did get aid, and the aid will help. I think to the extent that you can keep it the same, that would be a good. We aren't quite there yet to grow. We were just talking about cuts to jobs, cuts to different departments, and and the only thing that aid did is that it held the cuts away. So to the extent that you can keep it same, I think that would be, it would be ideal.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Since it is 9:15 and we still have a few things to do, unless anybody else wants to discuss this, it seems like we should just propose this for both financial year 22 and 23.
Mhm. Yeah, so I can make a motion to, is it time for a motion?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to propose the funding based on this spreadsheet that we have. Do I need to, you can reference that, right, Diana?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it would be better and clearer for the motion, since we're working off kind of a live editing document. If you can just read the amount, if you can say Catholic Charities,
Okay.
in the amount of 6,000, and so on.
Okay, so I move to approve this proposal for social services subgrant funding amounts of $6,000 for Catholic Charities, $13,500 for the Health Trust, $7,000 for Live Oak Adult Day Services, $4,000 for Next Door Solutions to Domestic Violence, $13,500 to St. Lucie Conference, $11,000 to Seniors Adults Legal Assistance for both FY22 and FY23.
Okay.
I'll have to take a roll call vote. Commissioner.
I will second the
Oh, I'm
motion.
so sorry.
We have a motion, but now that we have a motion, we need to open it up for public comment. If there's any public comment. Okay, hearing no public motion, request for public comment. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Aye.
Commissioner Brocker,
Aye.
Commissioner Chase,
Aye.
Commissioner Dooley,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoshikawa,
Aye.
Commissioner Fields,
Aye.
and Chairperson Kaufman. Thank you.
All right. Great work, commissioners. I'm very impressed at your methodology and your teamwork and your discussion and your thoughtfulness. So thank you.
Next, we will move to good of the game. Does any commissioner have any good of the game news they'd like to share with the group?
No comments or anything per se. I just want to plant an idea in my fellow commissioners' heads. I've been reviewing various parts of the city's website, and I want to encourage everybody on the Civic Improvement Commission to check out specifically the living and visiting section, which is where a lot of our stuff resides. That's up on the top navigation, along with maybe in the rest of the site, like departments and such. But specifically the living and visiting section, I'm wondering if we, along with maybe other commissions like Parks and Rec and Bicycle and such, adopt this section of the website and regularly submit updates or new information to the powers that be to get that added to the city's website. So in particular, like announcements of like programs like we just discussed when it's appropriate. So just a thought.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Yoshikawa, do you have some good?
Oh, sorry, I took my hand. I didn't mean to have my hand up still,
Oh,
but
no,
that's a
you're
great
fine.
idea. I love it. I love it.
Anyone else? Great. We will now move to our final item, the subcommittee reports, starting with Campbell Cares.
I can give just a brief little update on what we've been working on. We decided to pivot a little bit from our previous proposal of focusing on providing aid to unhoused communities in Campbell, just because we were realizing that there are a lot of other organizations that are kind of already taking care of that. And in the same way, I have had experience and kind of know what to do for the communities more in like San Jose. You're realizing it might not necessarily function the same way here in Campbell. So we wanted to shift a little bit, and we're trying to focus more on how I've been like calling it in my head is like a community resource tab. It's going to be a bit more of an index or an umbrella one-stop shop where you can find the organizations already providing aid for something you specifically are seeking. We do know that the chamber has some things on their website. The city, I've researched, has a couple things on their website, but really it just sends you to do a bunch of your own research. I wanted to create something a little bit more consolidated so someone could come in and expressly look at an index of aid organizations for food pantry, unhoused, domestic violence, other housing, just have a one-stop shop, and then they can kind of figure out where they need to go from there, and we can provide them a bit more information in one location, and then they can kind of choose from there. So that's something that I know I've been working on, as well as Commissioner Dooley has a little update if she'd like to give it on a little park rock affirmation project she proposed at our last subcommittee meeting. If you'd like to go on.
Absolutely. So we kind of, like Commissioner Chase was saying, sort of transitioned away from the homeless project, unhoused project, and we're thinking about some other ideas. And one that kind of stuck through the things that we threw out there was a project that I've worked on before, and it's kind of like the premise is kindness rocks. And so what it does, what it means is painting rocks with like motivational sayings or thought-provoking questions, and leaving those throughout the community, whether it be on the Campbell Park Trail or at the park itself or at John D. or at the community center, some of the main focal points where people go and exercise and walk and that kind of thing. And when they pick up a rock, we would have an Instagram account that I know Commissioner Chase is also working on. We would have an Instagram account and the person would take a little picture of their rock and kind of put their little blurb on what their response is to the rock and sort of the hashtag that we have come up with for our project, whether it be kindness rocks or whatever it is. And then just kind of get that Instagram page going with those sort of motivational little inputs from people. And then the premise would be that they take it with them and plant it somewhere else along their walk. That's what we're kind of working on right now.
It's a great idea.
Great. If there are no other questions for Campbell Cares, thank you for that report. Let's do the Neighborhood Association Assistance Grant.
Okay, so we are looking at kind of three things, as I mentioned before, just to review. We want to kind of move to align with the city's fiscal year instead of the current schedule that we have right now to help streamline and simplify the accounting. The next thing was to create a web form so it can be done completely online and you don't have to print anything, scan anything, fill it out, all of that. It can all be done online, and then that way it's a lot easier to kind of extrapolate the data and, just pull it into a spreadsheet and be able to manage it that way. And then the third thing was to streamline returning neighborhood associations who have been approved in the past and kind of create a simplified renewal type of application for them. And the things that we talked about, the important data points that we need to gather on the returning neighborhood associations is, do you currently have insurance? Do you, are your bylaws current? And are there any changes to the officers of your board of the neighborhood association? And then what is the amount requested for this round of funding? Margarita's working on putting the web form together, and we're going to try and shoot for a really quick condensed timeline for this round, because with COVID, it pushed things, and then we didn't know if we're going to get budget, but we're still under the assumption. Is that official that we do get the budget?
Yeah, it is actually, because we didn't have any mid-budget corrections. So yeah, we're
perfect. Okay, so with that, we want to just take off like a rocket ship and do a very condensed timeline. So what we're looking at would be opening up the applications for as early as April 1st, if we can swing that. Hopefully we can. And depending on, do we need council approval? Okay, so we don't need to worry about that. So maybe we just do the applications from April 1st to April 30th. And then we can disperse funds in May.
So you didn't, did you want to come back to your commission in April and share anything, or is everything ready to go?
Well, I think that if the commissioners are all okay with this, then we're good to go. I would love to get everyone's blessing to do this as recommended.
Yeah, it would be nice to, because if we need to spend the money, we need to spend the money by the end of June, right?
Yep.
And so maybe when you guys have the form up and running, you can just shoot us a link so we can see what's going on. But, from my perspective, and you can check with other commissioners, it's just best to, move forward with the improvements, because we already know what we're trying to do. And then we can come back with applications. And, in May, we may need to have a study session and then a meeting right after to be able to close them in time to be able to cut the checks, right? But that way you're not slowed down if everything's going forward. At least from my perspective, that makes good sense.
Agree. And do any other commissioners have any opinion different than that from Commissioner Hoffman? Okay.
Is there any reason for us to take a vote now on this plan, or are we good? Has this discussion meant that you can keep going on this to the next milestones?
I think that we're okay. And if there's no opposition or other input that we need to consider, we'll go on with that timeline. And then what we'd like to do, so basically this year's funding is just going to be like, apply, we'll give you funding. It's just to reimburse you for any expenses you've had, over the past year. And then we'll ask them to get the documentation and receipts into us in June, so that we can button up the year at the fiscal year end, and then kind of start with a normal kind of cadence with the new fiscal year. So for FY22, we would do something more like application period would be much longer, from, say mid-July through August. And then we could do a review and approval process September, October with study sessions, et cetera. And then we can distribute the funds maybe November, at the end of the year. And then that way it gives them until the following year, June, the beginning of June, to get the documentation back to us and spend the money, or see how they disperse the funds.
Because we're in an emergency year this year anyway, just given the, so trying to give those neighborhoods some funding to help them for whatever they lost, treat them like a business, and we can at least give them a few $100s to move.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So that is the plan, and we'll continue to move forward with that. Margarita, we can chat in the subcommittee. We're going to meet again next week, so we can just kind of focus on this for the next month, and then we can settle in.
Send me a link to your meeting and then we can preview the form
Perfect.
at your meeting.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. So if there's no more questions, I think that's it on the grant proposals or the grant assistance program.
Great. Next we have Explore Art. Commissioner Yoshikawa, you could go again, or I could do that one if you, whatever you would prefer. I think you're muted.
Why don't you go ahead? Because I am just taking a quick note right here.
Sure.
Thank you.
So we met last week, or actually it was Monday or Monday this week. It all time has no meaning anymore. We had a great subcommittee meeting, including Carrie Perkins from the Campbell Heritage Museum, where we brainstormed potential collaborations. I think there's a lot of great spaces right around there where we talked about potentials for both potential temporary sort of pop-up arts and also potentially something longer term. We have 3 main projects that we're kind of pushing forward right now. I think you all have seen all 3 of them. One is to do a new mural, sort of in the spirit of the one that's on the side of Art Beat. One is to do a sidewalk art contest, socially distanced, safe, allow people to sort of say where they're going to do the chalk art and have a day where we can walk around and see it and have a contest. And then the third is to do a set of sort of neighborhood signs that sort of celebrate the unique character of the various neighborhoods that we have around town. And in the next month, we're all working on these 3 plans to come up with what all we think they would entail in the budget. And once we have that, we would then move forward with potential fundraising or whatever is next for establishing RFPs or calls for artists or anything else. But I think good progress in the last month, and we're really excited about what's next. Are there any questions?
I just wanted to request that could you guys invite me to one of those meetings? I've got some ideas I'd like to submit.
I don't think we technically can.
Oh, okay. Oh, well.
Because there's 3 of us and then it becomes a Brown Act.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Maybe we could present.
He could talk to him. He could talk to us about them now, or a next meeting. If we could put him on the calendar for the next meeting.
Oh, I'm not prepared really to show you anything, but one idea I had was, and Carol, you might be familiar with this because I showed it to you at one point via YouTube video. But I had this idea I wanted to submit for a movable and/or temporary art installation that you can do on sidewalks. And what it involves is having a template made of an image, and then you simply take a power washer and you power wash over the template. And what it does is it cleans the sidewalk, but in the shape of the image. And, it lasts however long it lasts. But you can literally put them anywhere in the city.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Margarita, do you or Diana know, would we have to get approval from Public Works to do anything to sidewalks?
Well, that's the best part, is technically you're cleaning it.
Right. Right.
As long as there's no issue with the artwork itself, no objection to it, it kind of really falls into a gray area.
Diana, do you want to comment?
I would, we probably would need to run it by Public Works. I don't know if there's any non-point source concerns. Sorry, I'm putting on my hat here, and
no, I get it.
Something that I hate to be Debbie Downer, but
no, I would
at least have to run it by Public Works.
I would absolutely want Todd's buy-in. Of course, I would. Yeah, but I personally think he would get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
Well, I will put it we have a healthy backlog of ideas, so I will add this to that. I like that. And potentially we'll talk about it in a future session.
Yeah, you can always bring it up during this time, even though the subcommittees are composed of 3 members, but during the meetings, it's appropriate to share. And if you want to more time to present, then you can say, I'd like to have some time on the next agenda. And then we can dedicate more time and give you the time to prepare something formally too.
Margarita, I'm going to send you a YouTube video link to forward to Davis, because I don't think I have your email directly. But
okay. Yeah.
Great.
And what would be great? I remember that, Chris. I remember when you sent it to me. It was funny. But coming up with some idea for templates and how we get those templates and all that, we can maybe the commission can help the art subcommittee.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that, have some fun ideas of, and it may fall into arrows getting to our rocks. I mean, we could
there you go.
leverage some of that, right? Put some together.
Well, the first one could just literally be the seal of the city, the prune tree.
Mm-hmm.
And with the with the logo and all that, and that could be an easy one to just that could just mysteriously appear various places.
I can, in the meantime, too, between meetings, I can find out from Todd or see if there's anything we need to cover before, and come back and report to you to see
That'd be great.
Any type of information or permit or approval or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring that, I mean, I think it's silly, really, to even have to ask, can we wash the sidewalks a little bit? But just knowing, how things work, we probably should get at least run it by them and give a heads up and stuff like that, which brings me to my next point. If you could still follow up and ask that'd be great, because it also ties into the sidewalk art contest, which again, ridiculous that I would have to talk to Public Works to put some chalk in front of my house, but I just want to cover all our bases and make sure that, we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's.
Maybe when the sidewalk art contest ends, Commissioner Bratcher can come around with his power washer.
I don't own a power washer yet. I got the trailer and the generator, but I'd have to go buy a power washer.
Yeah.
We have a power washer.
What's that?
I think we may have a power washer here.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay, we'll make it work.
We can get Home Depot to donate one.
Perfect.
Well, they just might.
Yep. I would think we could easily get one donated from somewhere. But, yeah, so if you would let us know on the sidewalk stuff, because there's two potential items now, that would be great.
Great. That is the final subcommittee report. So if there are no more questions, I'm going to guess what I'm supposed to say. At 9:35 p.m., I hereby adjourn this meeting. Perfect.
All right. Good night,
everyone. Have a good night. Good night.
Good night. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Diana. Thanks, Margarita.
Thank you.
Thanks, Davis. Good leading.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.